I believe it's my turn, prior to Councillor Stevens closing it out. I'm going to throw a wrench in this, and only for this reason. I would ask Council to look at the recommendations before them. Several months ago, Council got together for a strategic prioritization, and this is one of our pillars in terms of our priorities for our term. And we had agreed in principle that when this report came forward, that we would get together as a council informally to discuss the ins and outs, everything from governance to potential action plans, outcomes we're looking for, what have you. This is a framework, and I'm not interested in planning to plan anymore. I would like to plan to action and plan to build. And so, in the spirit of that several months ago discussion, I am going to make a motion to table number 2, number 3, number 4, number 6, number 8, number 9, only for the purposes of getting together with Council in December for a few hours to kick around and further flesh out the governance model that's before us. I think it's unbelievably important that we get it right. I am not interested in investing money to get it wrong. And I think everyone around this table has incredibly valid ideas, valid notions of how it could or should work. And as a council, we should work that out amongst ourselves. I don't want to delay it too long. I wouldn't delay it past a few weeks from now. But I'm asking to table it so we can have a fulsome discussion of what this governance model might look like and actually work out the pros and cons amongst us for what we truly believe will get us the best outcome. I fully endorse this plan. That's why number 1 is not there. I fully endorse the idea of approving criteria for the expansion of transit and leisure pass distribution, and that is well within the city purview and can be done outside of this. There's a consideration of approval of funding at $500,000. That's already going to be at the budget, so I'm happy to approve that here in terms of that's consideration. But I'm going to ask to table that motion, and I would need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Bresciani. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Through the chair, I understand the spirit of the tabling motion. Where I don't agree is with the necessity. If we look at some of the items that you propose, Madam Chair, to table, there's already flexibility built in there for there to be a discussion. So if we're thinking about the terms of reference, the governance model, and so on, we can approve this as it is, and we can request of administration quite easily that as they craft the terms of reference, we can have that discussion. What we have before us is a rubric, a general framework, a set of principles. We can actually get together with administration in this kind of setting that you're discussing, or even as council, to then provide further direction without delaying this. I think this is a needless delay. We've had years to discuss this. We've had presentations. I believe that we should think through these decisions. We've already had months to do that. The expectation when something like this comes to council is that folks have done their homework. They might propose amendments, direction, etc. Council collectively has had over a year to do so. This is kind of the end of the road. I'm not in favor of delaying financially the matter either. I think we've had, and we can see success in some of these harm reduction programs. I think what will happen is, we'll get together, needlessly delaying this project to tinker with what some of us believe should be the governance model, and we could still have this go through the budgeting process. I think it's kind of a bit of obfuscation to suggest that we need to stop and think about it when we've already had the time. We know how budgets work. We know how hiring processes work. It takes a lot of time. The more this is delayed, the longer it will take to get this off the ground. And I think that's just needless. I think we can still proceed in the spirit of consultation if we approve this and still have a forum for council independently and with administration to craft what we're asking of them. So I don't think we need to go ahead with the delay. See no value in it. We've had a lot of time to do that, and frankly, people should have done that and put together that homework already.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen.
I absolutely support tabling this. This is the first time I've seen the money behind anything that we're doing. I haven't seen an annual funding of $800,000 through operating budget process. For what? I need exactly to know what this is for, where this is going. Is it going to be $190,000 for a CEO? Is it going to be $110,000 for a CEO? That needs to be discussed. That needs to be worked out. Maybe there's some money that could go into something else. If you guys all say that this is, I've been a counselor for a year. I don't have 10 years of experience coming up with this wellness plan that you guys have been talking about. A year. And it hasn't even been in my face as to the amount of money being used and where it's going to be directed. So this is absolutely irresponsible of us if we were to say this is what we're doing when we actually have never sat down and said, okay, collectively, what are we going to do? What is the best plan of action? What is the money that we're going to spend on this? Where are we going to spend it? This is an outline, yes, but this is not detail. So how could I ever vote on something like this when it doesn't say exactly where this is all going and what it's going to be used for and the added value that's going to add? I mean, I talk about different CEOs or CBOs, 10 different photocopiers. Guess what? If they could all just amalgamate and have one photocopier and one CEO. Like, these are the things that we need to discuss in discussion. This is tax-paying dollars. I want to use it properly and responsibly. And yes, this deserves a discussion in December. Budget, oh well, we got 2 weeks off for Christmas. We got lots of time to read this over and look this over. So yes, I do support this, Mayor Masters. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bresciani.
Thank you, Mayor Masters. I support the table for two reasons. I have read the report, Councillor Stevens, and I think the one big thing that sits with me, I signed that motion when we wanted to bring this forward. I absolutely support the plan, and I think we've heard that. But I don't think there's anything wrong, and I do remember from our strat plan, that was a commitment we made as council colleagues. That was a discussion in our strat plan, that this was a priority, but we were going to have a discussion about it. And I think there's nothing wrong with us taking this back, having it, we were going to have a strat plan discussion anyway. Why not allow this to be part of it? It's not to dilute it, it's to make sure we're all clear on the process and how it's going to work. We've offered Mayor Masters to be our spokesperson. That's great. Have we consulted? Has there been consultation around how that's going to work? Have we talked about what that would look like in the her subcommittee? These are important discussions. These are important things, because that's a huge key piece of who sits around that table. And that means a discussion. And I don't think delaying this by 2 weeks from our mayor who has asked for that, to me, I don't see, I don't see the need to rush it. I think 2 weeks, and in all due respect, if that's the discussion and that's the request, I absolutely support it.
I'll continue with the particular point of order with respect to it. So I'm looking at 20 sub 10 of the procedure bylaw. Indicates a member moving a motion to table any matter whether the matter is contained in a petition, inquiry, motion, or any other matter before council, shall include in the tabling motion, and here I say there are three options. One, the time at the present meeting, comma, or the date of a future regular or a special meeting to which the matter is to be tabled. My view is that means if you're tabling something at council, it can only be to another council meeting, not to a strategic planning session out of public eye. And so my position is the proposed tabling motion does not comply with 20 sub 10, so is invalidly made, so it can't go to a vote. And I would request a ruling on that.
I will do my best, Councillor LeBlanc, given that I was also speaking with the mayor on a related matter in this regard. There's two ways to look at this. The mayor has the authority to call a special meeting of council at any time. She does not need consent of council to call a special meeting. So as part of this tabling motion, she could call a special meeting of city council for X or Y date, and then you could immediately move in camera. I mean, the spirit and intent of this is she wants to, I believe, if I understand correctly, wants to table this to a special, this would come back to a council meeting. Any strategic planning session of council, as per the auspices of the FOI Act, cannot make a final decision. It's very clear in the Act. But you can meet for a strategic planning purpose. So, I mean, the city solicitor may want to also weigh in on this.
I think to Councillor LeBlanc's issue, though, according to the bylaw, I have to tell the date that it's being tabled to.
And you can do that, and as I said, Mayor, you have the authority to call that meeting unilaterally.
Right, so but I would have to include a date because I can call a special meeting immediately following the strategic planning session as long as I attach a date.
That's right.
Just to finalize, put a point on it. Okay, understand. Mr. Weary?
I think it would be advisable for the tabling motion to be tabled to a future meeting. If there's a strategic planning session that is going to happen in between, that probably needs to be dealt with separately as a strategic planning session if it's in proper form and follows the correct procedure and the exceptions in the LA FOIP Act. That could occur, but in my view, the tabling should be to a future council meeting.
Understood. So table it till December 8th, like if I just included the date of December 8th. Understood.
Do this, we can't make decisions except in public. And I would be very nervous about the appearance that the public would have if we had a strategic planning meeting on this specific issue and then went into a city council meeting. It raises serious transparency issues.
Thank you. I don't disagree, Mayor Masters, with Councillor Hawkins' point. I just want to remind council members that you are afforded the opportunity at any time to meet in a strategic planning session. The fact that it is potentially very close or adjacent to December 8th is interesting, but not necessarily improper or illegal. As I've mentioned before, final decisions must be made on the floor of council in public.
I believe everyone has spoken. City Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Councillor Moll, if you can hear me, please recall in again. Okay, he is having difficulty. If council, I have it on record here, it is on my phone. If you accept that, Councillor Moll votes in favor of the tabling motion. And I will keep this on the record if anybody disputes what he is saying. And the deputy will fill in the rest of the vote. So it was 5-5 with Councillor Moll's vote in favor. The motion is tabled to December 8th special council meeting.
Councillor Stevens, I believe you can close off debate. The item before council are recommendations number 1, number 5, and 7.
Okay, I guess I'll be salvaging some scraps here. I guess this meeting was a complete waste of time, which is unfortunate since we scheduled it to deal with precise issues that we're now going to deal with in private and then come to public. I'm at least hopeful that there is some money here in harm reduction. Interestingly, the same folks who voted against that also want to table and proceed with further deliberation about the structure. I think we have a good plan. I think we have a framework to advance with an advocacy, a leadership, and a policy-making process that changes the way that we deal with complex issues in our city. I think organizations like Fire and Protective Services are already doing this along with the RPS. The community wellness strategy that we've discussed pushes us ahead and changes the way that we respond to existing crises. This will be something that we can talk about down the road, but ensuring that folks who experience poverty, racism, and all the issues identified in the plan are actually staffing and responding to those issues in the community is important. I'm hopeful that this isn't something that's derailed through the budget process and that council can come to some consensus on what the structure looks like. That was still possible. But at the very least, we have some financial skin in the game when it comes to harm reduction funding, which is doing some important work in the community if we look at who's received it and the kind of initiatives that we're willing to advance. So I guess I look forward to further discussion about this. And I hope that council will consider supporting and not tabling the remnants of the recommendations.
Can I, City Clerk, please call the vote on the motion as amended.
Mayor Masters, the vote on portions 1, 5, and 7 is passed unanimously. It is 11-0. Councillor Moll has also indicated his interest in voting in favor.
Thank you very much, Council. May I have a motion to adjourn?